Hey everyone, this is Pete. Welcome back to Atari A to Z, a series of short playthroughs of Atari 8-bit games, some of which I grew up with and some which are new to me. Today is one of the latter. This is Way Out by Paul Allen Edelstein, I believe. And this is a really interesting game because it's one of the earliest examples of a first-person 3D perspective game. The concept is pretty simple, in that you're trying to find your way out of a maze. And, yeah, there you go. So you have a first-person perspective. You have a map at the bottom of the screen. And a compass. And you have to find your way to where you're going. That over there is actually the exit. But we can't get to it because of the wind. You see, it's blowing us around like that. So we need to find a way around, basically. So the control scheme in this is kind of strange. You rotate left and right, as you might expect. But then you push forward and you're sort of constantly thrusting just by tapping forwards. And so that keeps you moving, and it means you can stop dead pretty easily. But it's a little bit different from what you might expect from standard first-person movement controls that you might be accustomed to today. Now that flashing white line at the top there indicates the presence of I forget its name offhand. It's something like the it's some sort of beast. It's not actually a terribly scary beast, so it's not like a T-Rex in 3D Monster Maze on the ZX81 or anything like that, but it is annoying because each time it catches you, it will get rid of either your compass or your auto map facility that you can see down at the bottom of the screen. And obviously those are both very helpful things to have access to. See, there we go. See, he's grabbed our compass now, so that means we don't know which direction we're facing, but you can still work that out pretty easily from looking at the map. And there we go. So we've made it out of the intro level within 37 movement units. I'm not entirely sure how it measures those, but yeah, that is how you score in this game. The lower the score, the better. So let's try another level. So that was intro. Let us now try Nova, which is Maze B. So theoretically, this should be similarly easy. The auto map is pretty nice because it doesn't require you to sort of bump into a wall as some sort of grid-based dungeon crawlers do, even today still. It's actually taking into account what you can see in the 3D view at that point and mapping ahead of you. And so that means you don't have to necessarily visit every square in order to map out that part of the maze. Now, I say I'm not familiar with this game. The sort of use of 3D perspective and sort of the smoothly animated 3D movement in this was also used in another game that I was familiar with called Capture the Flag, which was actually a simultaneous two-player game. It was split screen, so two of you had a 3D window like this, and you were attempting to, well, the clue's in the name, really. I'm not sure offhand without checking if that was also the work of Paul Edelstein and Sirius Software, but it certainly looked very similar to this. The actual presentation of it was almost identical. It was just a split screen game instead of a single screen game like this. And I gotta say, I'm really impressed. Really impressed with how smoothly this moves. The sort of first-person 3D stuff was not at all common on the Atari 8-bit. And yet you had exceptions to that. You had things like Paul Wokes' Mercenary series, which was transparent polygons. And this is obviously nothing but squares, which are easier to draw than more complex polygonal objects. But it's still pretty impressive that it's moving at such a good frame rate with all those colours on the screen in a graphics mode that sort of doesn't limit use of colour or anything like that. So what was often the case in a lot of Atari 8-bit games was when people wanted to program a game with a lot more detail, they would use one of the higher resolution graphics modes. I say high resolution. The high resolution graphics mode on the Atari 8-bit was 320 by 200, which is considered sort of the lowest acceptable resolution on the PC. But yeah, in that mode you can only use 2 colours, and so you could get lovely detailed graphics, but you couldn't make use of colour. So you had to make use of shading and dithering and that sort of thing. And yeah, it took quite a master of design and computer art for them to be able to make that look good. Okay, so we mapped out that top area, and there's not really anything useful there. So we need to head down towards the south. Oh no, he's still on our map. Now apparently there is a way of getting them back. I don't know how you do that. So I guess it's just a case of tracking him down, but pressing the fire button doesn't do anything, so I guess it's not... You don't shoot him or anything. Well, I guess we'll try and find out. We'll see how we get on. If I get too lost, then we'll give up. But right, so this is the wide open room that we started in. Let's go and take a look in this direction. Yeah, this sort of thrusting movement is... Right, that's a dead end, so not that way. Yeah, this sort of push forward to constantly move forward it still takes a bit of getting used to. But it does mean you can sort of glide round corners, which is quite satisfying. Right, so I guess the way we need to go must be this way. And I'm going to guess, because we seem to be starting over on the right-hand side of the map rather than in the middle, that we want to head in this direction. So... Oh, this is such a nightmare without a map. Right, dead end. Supposedly the sort of little pixels you see flying around, those are fireflies, and they're supposed to give you a vague hint as to which direction you should be going in, but they don't seem to be moving very much. But interestingly, they are actually positioned in the 3D world, which is cool. So rather than sort of being overlaid on top of the 3D display, if you look as you move, you're actually moving past the fireflies. So their actual position is tracked in the 3D space, which is, again, really quite advanced. So as I say, there were other sort of first-person perspective games that made use of a vaguely smooth movement. Role-playing game Alternate Reality is a good example. That didn't have smooth going around corners, but it did have texture-mapped walls, which was absolutely revolutionary at the time. But that also had weather effects, a bit like the fireflies in this. But in the case of that one, they were just... basically overlays on top of the screen. You weren't, when you were walking through a rainstorm, you weren't sort of walking past the droplets or anything like that. It was just like a graphical effect that was superimposed on top of the 3D view. Right, so this seems to be a bit of a dead end. These all seem to be rooms with those blocks in the middle. And I think there was another one up here, wasn't there? Yes. Okay, so this area is out of the question. So let's go. Can we go any further that way? No, we can't. Okay, back this way it is. Nope, dead end. This is a really simple game idea, but I really like it. So the first person thing gives it a really nice sense of claustrophobia. not in an especially negative way. It just really gives you a sense of being trapped in this maze and wanting to get out, and losing access to your map and the compass just really drives home the fact that you're lost. Right, so none of these ways from the look of things. Not that way. Let's try this way. Oh, we're back in the corner we've been in. Let's try going this direction. To be honest, this would be challenging enough without the thing nicking your compass and your auto map facility, but yeah, in some ways it would be nice if that thing wasn't there, but I guess it just adds a bit of interest and tension to the experience that you might not have otherwise. Otherwise it's just being lost in a maze. Just being lost in a maze, he says. These levels are actually quite impressively large as well. I mean, again, I know that they're not constructed of complex objects or anything like that, but even so. You're talking about squeezing a quite complex level layout into a computer that doesn't have very much memory in the first place. And then rendering the whole thing in 3D. Very impressive, Paul Edelstein. You have my respect. I feel like I might be going around in circles. Still, at least when you lose your map, you can actually still see where you are in terms of the overall layout of the level, which is good. So that means you still get a vague indication of whether you're in an area that you've been in before or not. Right, I think this corner seems to be a bust, so let's proceed in this direction and see what happens. Oh, there he is. Let's see if we can catch him. Ah, there we go. Okay, so if you catch him when he's taken your things, you get them back. But if he catches you while you've got them, he will take them from you, which is annoying. So I guess it's mostly sort of a means of wasting your time, so that you spend more moves than you would do normally on trying to traverse the maze. I think we've been this way, but let's map it out anyway, just so we have an indication of where we've been. Yeah, that's a dead end. There's no sort of teaser of where the exit is in this one, like there was in the first level. So, I mean, we don't even know which direction we're supposed to be going in. Still, I feel more confident in being able to do this now we got the map back at least. The compass I don't really care about because you can just work out which direction you're facing from how you're moving on the map. But yeah, the map facility is pretty essential. Alright, let's try this way. This is going to be some more of those rooms, isn't it? Okay, so it's looking like this level might be designed in a vaguely... Oh, there's the exit. There we go. Done it. Totally intentionally. Anyway, that was Way Out, published by Sirius Software. Hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please help out the channel by leaving a like or a comment and subscribing. New episodes of Atari A to Z are on Tuesdays and Atari ST A to Z on Thursdays. Check out atariatoz.wordpress.com for a full archive. Do please also check out my other projects moegamer.net, where I explore Japanese and Japanese-inspired games from yesterday and today, and videopackgames.wordpress.com, which aims to catalogue a small but well-formed library of the Philips G7000 Videopack computer, also known as the Magnavox Odyssey 2. You can also support my work on Patreon or buy me a coffee. You can find links to do both down in the video description. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.